What's up, tribe? Thank you for being here and welcome to my channel. Today's post is titled Love and Hate. And as it's a dialogue between Matias and his higher self, I'd be referring to Matias as me and to his higher self as I am. Me. Today in the pyramid, I felt a strange sensation. For an instant, I felt like I was having a mild heart attack. I stopped feeling my arms, legs, and my head seemed to expand, consuming all its oxygen, making me hallucinate. The heart seemed to stop, and then I felt my body begin to split in half in a perfect straight line, opening at the sides like a two-petal flower. She could see all the organs in half, see the muscles, tissues, everything in half. Although both parts remained connected by arteries and main ganglia, like suspension bridges between two towers, then a beautiful light began to descend through the center between the two parts, illuminating these veins and arteries, where each one accumulated light, as if it were filtering it as it passed. That light turned a subtle and soft gold, not very shiny, but kind to the eyes, and it was being absorbed by the veins and arteries as the light grew more intense. Upon reaching my genitals, the body rejoined from the bottom up, connecting with the light already within me. But now I could see all the light around me, and a huge and beautiful portal in front of me opened, where a kind, angelic being was seen. He extended his hand to me, and I did the same. We held hands, and together we went to my heart. My hand stayed on my chest, and his went through it, until it took my heart like a sponge that he pressed several times, making it beat again in a beautiful expansion. Then everything returned to normal. I am. And what did you feel? Me. At first, I felt despair. I didn't know what was going on, and my body started to worry, but my mind got carried away. Then seeing my body splitting generated opposite emotions. On the one hand, a bit of disgust, aversion to seeing everything inside, the organs moving but cut in half with the blood circulating, all compressed and supported by muscles, tissues, and lipids. But in turn, I felt fascination and amazement, as if I couldn't stop looking at him. The light brought a lot of calm. I felt peace, and I saw in that being in front of me an absolute clarity of being in heaven and on earth at the same time. I'm still a bit dizzy, but my heart expanded. I am. What is the emotion? Me. Love. Inevitably. But at the same time, a strange feeling that accompanies it, that I don't know how to identify, as if that great love was in turn accompanied by a feeling of aversion, what I told you, like disgust, but a natural disgust that is not bad, but like a cat. I am. What would that be like? Me. Well, people who love dogs the most hardly understand what it's like, but cats have this strange ability to love you and hate you at the same time. It's an emotion that perhaps only someone with a lot of Scorpio in their astrological chart can understand very well. I have many planets in the 8th house, which in astrology is the celestial house of Scorpio. But in itself, the sun, or the moon, or the ascendant, or Mars and Venus, if they are in Scorpio, they will show a person somewhat dark, a little dark, very sexual, confused, spiritistic, sometimes leading to being categorized as a born, perverse hater, and yet that wave stinging mortally with the sting is precisely his way of loving. The way in which he tells you that he loves you. Cats are the same. At the same time, they seek your caresses and protect you, kiss you and pamper you. They won't hesitate to scratch or bite you hatefully if they think it's been enough. That is why many people hate cats, because you never know what they're up to, or if they love you, or are only interested. That is why they relate them to the Scorpio, the spiritist, the devil, the witches. I am. By cataloging emotions, humans have put love and hate at the ends of a rope, as if one were pushing from one end and the other to the opposite. In between are all other emotions hanging. Thus, there is an incessant search to reach love, denying hate as its opposite. If love is harmony, creation, peace, freedom, then hate will be chaos, destruction, war, and slavery. This from a world that sees things linear and in the short term. Me, and how would they be non-linear and long-term? I am an eternal sphere. The more closely you see a fabric, what you will be able to perceive is a straight line that comes from one end and goes to the other. The further you go, you will begin to see how the extremes curve towards a horizon, bending by gravitational force until they intersect at the opposite end of a sphere, the farthest opposites being the same origin of both visions. Me, like the nerve connections of the two eyes, which inside the head are not aligned, that is, the right eye with the right hemisphere and the left eye with the left hemisphere, but they intersect each other, creating a circuit of cross or infinity, such as an 8, where the right eye goes to the left of the brain and the left eye connects to the right brain. I am. Nothing is what it seems. Everything that we considered opposite is not separate, but interconnected. The body's a sign that the balance of things, can only be produced by the interweaving of opposites, becoming complementary. What you felt today, the body breaking at you, let you see that the two parts are fascinating, but without those connections in the middle, they would not make sense. Because the right side receives the information from the left side, and the left one moves thanks to the pulses on the right side, which helps to understand that we would not understand light without darkness. We would not understand the idea of freedom without slavery. There would be no way to identify good without evil. We would not understand the idea of love without hate. Me. So everything is part of the same system, but it's like weird to think that conflict, war, darkness should be taken as a necessary evil. I am. It is not necessary. It is reactionary. The universe does not need anything. It is simple. It has everything. But when separated, the parts become individualized. They evolve considering that they are separate from each other, and they seek to obtain the greatest amount of energy possible to store it, save it, and thus subsist for as long as possible, holding the same form, holding on to finite forms, clinging to the finite is what generates needs. Relying on the finite imprisons the eternal, summing it up to conditional love, to the love of dependence that enslaves souls to maintain eternal and rigid bonds, producing a kind of energetic osteoarthritis, oozing with spiritual foundations. It divides, separates, corrupts, generates fears of what will happen if it's lost. Thus, fearful individuals begin to steal energy from others, producing an energetic violation that generates dislike, aversion, hatred. Remember, love is not an emotion within the rope. Love is the concept with which the whole rope is known. All that rope that surrounds the entire sphere, because love means eternity, without death, something that lives forever, that it vibrates incessantly. Hatred, then, will be that which ceases, which stops vibrating, which ceases to resonate, which interrupts continuity. Hate comes from the Indo-European ihed, used to show dislike for something. Today's culture turned hatred into something opposite to love, when originally the word referred to things like, I don't like this bread. Things that taste bad, that feel bad, things that I must deprive myself of, that bother me, things that I must put a limit on. Bread is not bad, but the way it is made, I dislike it. Me. Is hatred in its origin a way of setting limits? Did I understand well? I am. Exactly. Hate is the conceptual form of the word dislike. When you dislike something, it doesn't mean it's wrong. It means you dislike it. Hating has become a form of judgment, of qualifying an emotion, of accumulated anger against a specific being or object. If anger is an abstract concept of anger, hatred is a focused concept of anger towards something. Rabia means anger, and anger comes from the roots in and fatus, which mean without concrete fact, that is, fool, something that we can relate to the origin of the word anger, from the Indo-European eis, which means to move with speed, a quick, foolish movement, without coherence, without meaning, without understanding, undoubtedly leads to a feeling of discomfort, of disgust, which eliminates the comfort zone. So I hate it is that emotion that reminds us that we cannot be at peace with our inner world, that there is no balance. Balance is in the eternal flow of energy. Hate is an indicator that we have lost the eternal flow and the current began to be intermittent. Me. Hate, then, is not the opposite of love. It is what tells us that love is having trouble flowing. I am. 2 days ago you started with a fever problem. Why? Me. Because a friend came to visit as he was passing through a tourist destination. And as much as my being was happy to have visits that made me feel that I'm living something different from my routine, the constant flow of my daily energy was released, and everything that circulated in the axis began to be intermittent, and the energy that was holding could not be controlled and was expressed in heat and fever. I am. And what emotions did it generate? Me. I felt joy, laughter, love, fun, company, and at the same time I felt irresponsibility, guilt, hatred for not having taken into account that this could happen to me. I am. As you will see, the pain, the fever, the illness were not there to make you suffer. They were there to make you return to your center, which you had lost for an instant. Hate is the natural reaction for the soul's immune system, which tries to defend itself by fighting against invading viruses and bacteria that can damage the integrity of the flow of love that is your eternal heartbeat and internal circulation. Me, I understand, and what to do when hate gets out of control. That is, when the immune system ceases to be useful and consumes the system, as in an immunodeficient disease, such as the famous AIDS, acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. I am. Hatred has reached the extreme of becoming a fight, war, attacking one's cells, destroying one's world, trying to defend it according to their own interests and beliefs about what love means, ends up corrupting their own environment by destroying themselves, itself. A system sick from the fight, the least it needs is a counterattack. You need love. You need to re-understand that things are flowing. You need to feel that there is love, that the cycle is eternal and transforming, that there is room for everything. You need unconditional love, without limits, without judgment. one of the most difficult loves, since it is easier to love the similar than the opposite. It is easier to hate, to defend oneself, than to open up, to die as a martyr. For this reason, the ancient religions beatified their martyrs. Those who did not oppose the judgment of their oppressors and decided to forgive them. That attitude was the one that added more followers to Christianity. Just as in the 70s, it added so many people to the hippie movement, since the courage of a single person placing a flower on a weapon, or sitting in front of a tank, or praying before the lashes, awaken more strength, power, and love than an army. Of thousands of people with weapons of hate. In the same way that the caress of a mother and the loving smile of those who appreciate us heal more bodies than any medicine, because the immune system was made to hate, to defend itself from what causes disgust to our being. Hatred is only a defense mechanism. The more I seek to defend myself from the opposite, from the external, the more hatred I will generate. When I allow more than energy flow, free, harmonica, more love I will feel. I think there's a typo here. Then when I allow more energy flow, free, harmonica, the more love I will feel. Me, only love will make you free. I am. Well, now you know that hate was love's guardian, not its enemy. Love cannot have opposites. It only has allies. There would be no love if its mere existence implied an opposite. Open your heart. Recognize what you dislike, what hatred tries to protect you from, and draw it wrapped in love. The eternal flow of the two forces that protect each other. Me, I can recognize now that every time something bothers me, that every time I have felt hatred and aversion, it was my body defending myself from something strange, like a cat that can love and defend itself at the same time. This is my body and my subconscious. Now I understand the union of both, and I put my intention not to block or deny hatred, but to find a way to feel more open and secure in a hostile world, bringing that same security and flow of love to that world. It reminds me of a classmate in Spain who was very troublesome and aggressive, but was full of love. I could see it. I saw that he was hurting others, but it was because he did not know where to put that energy. So one day I asked him why he did so many bad things, why he hated everyone so much, and he told me that because no one respected him and they thought him a fool. So I told him that no one is stupid if he asks for help. I remember that I helped him with the homework, and when there were doubts, I made him ask the boys that he used to bother before. From that day on, he began to take care of us instead of attacking us. He defended us and fought for the injustices of the school, defending his classmates. He just needed a target to put his energy into. I am. And this is how hate gets a purpose. And it won't need to call for attention again. And the world will be healed. The world will be loved.